everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attacker Productions. Today I'm back up joined once again by Austin, Jason, and like always, Fluff.
Hello.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, beautiful people?
And today's matchup is Fluff versus Jason. This is part of our past locals where it's the best of one sideboard. This is our first round with Fluff and Jason. Fluff brought back Toppo Lock. I don't know if you've shown off this variant before, because I know you changed to Unison.
I haven't deck profiled this long. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. And this is a deck that I think, Jason, you've worked on for a while, and you've brought it back this weekend. Have you changed anything about it?
I added, I think, like 3 cards. The 5-drop Samasu, and then there was a 3-drop Vegeta that I added in as well.
Sounds good. So hope you all enjoyed today's matchup. Let's get into it.
The reason that I haven't recorded this profile yet is I don't think that Toppo is competitively viable. Like, it's viable to, like, come to locals, have fun with. But if you're looking for something that's going to be competitive, I don't think Toppo Lock can take it there. The big changes made to the deck were the inclusion of the slug package to lock out your opponent from getting their draws. And then the new unison of choice is going to be the Rump Sheet, which you'll see come out on my turn 2, which the unison itself doesn't really do anything in particularly besides being a 15k body, but he does have a +2 and then an Empower 3 that will allow you to basically clear out your opponent's field if the unison has 4 markers on it or more when it's played. So,
which that Empower is just really good, I feel like.
It is. One of the bigger problems is finding a good time to do it, or if your opponent has a barrier-heavy field, or if your opponent's not really playing out battle cards, which is what I ended up running into in this match, where Jason just wasn't really playing battle cards. So it didn't really behoove me to put additional unisons out there. Here, I'm floating into the 3-drop slug, just making sure I got my sequencing correct on this. Was kind of expecting an attempt for Charismatic Villain, but the slug does have barrier there. So I wasn't too worried about it. I figured I would just go on ahead and use this unison as a gate through to get into his life, as opposed to opening up combo windows for him to maybe like ditch Riverines or anything like that.
Which Demigra is a great unison to go into for that purpose.
Yeah, that's smart.
And I assume all 3 of those attacks went into the unison then?
Yeah, all 3 went through the unison. I think the last one I went through the leader. Or I think I called unison, or I pointed to the unison but said leader, or something like that, because it was my intention to do that. This is a misplay on my end. I've already played my 1 battle card for the turn, but you'll see it just gets punished. It just replaces itself. Doesn't really make a big impact in the game. Actually just gives Jason a battle card.
Yeah. There was 2. There's 2. I always get them confused because there's the 1-drop Basil and then there's the 5-drop. So as soon as he played it, I was just wanting to get it off the field, regardless of which one it was.
So the 5-drop is limited to 1 in a deck now, but in order to get it out cheaply, you have to tap on your opponent's cards, and I think you pay 2 energy to play it, and then when it's played, it taps 2 of your opponent's cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So real quick, your experience with the slug, did you have any beforehand?
What?
This 3-drop slug, which pretty much, I'm not sure how much it affects you with your deck, but you can't draw cards outside of the leader's effect. Now, I know this leader has a great way of just cycling cards by pitching 1 and then drawing 2 after you do a burst, too. But I didn't know if, like, when you saw Fluff play it, was there, like, a problem, like, I need to get rid of this card so I can use potentially super combos or other things down the road?
Not really. it's where starting off, I really didn't have the cards in my hand that I needed. So basically, at this point, I'm just kind of like going through the motions, trying to get cards that I can actually use. I just kind of started off with a rough hand.
Demiga is such a good turn 1 unit for green. It not only turns on all of your key negates or key counterplays, but just for +1 to 15k battle card. And like how we explained earlier, if your opponent's looked into it, you can just take a life to keep it alive long enough where if you want to use the -3 down the road, you can, which pops 2 cards. I think 1 of whatever cost and 1 of 3 cost and less with ignoring barrier.
Yeah, that is correct, yeah. That was basically the only thing that kept me going, I guess, so far through like the first 2-3 turns is being able to have that unison out there, and he's a 15k striker, so. Other than that, I just played pretty defensively for my first few turns just to try to get the cards I needed.
I think I want to start siding in or putting in Tyrannical Blow into this list, specifically for Floodgate cards. Not that I'm going to go crazy here, but I do have to kind of wager my hand value over other things. So thankfully, I do have an ape in hand, so the discard on that Toppo is not as bad as it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember you've talked about that for a bit, putting that in a sideboard. I know you you put it in your. Did you put it in your Sentient Run sideboard originally?
I think so, yeah. Specifically for the red and green matchup.
So, with your unison at 6 markers, and Jason with no battle cards currently on the board, and knowing if he plays one, he can't play another one, did you feel fine tapping out right there?
I did. I didn't feel like I was in any type of danger tapping out. I do have like 2 or 3 Vegeta Prideful Transformations in hand. So I felt like if the battle card was going to be something dangerous, I was going to have a response to it.
And if it was something dangerous, you would then potentially be able to turn on Slug's permanent, I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I've not been able to stick another battle card to get his bond on.
How do you feel about that counterplay as a whole in yellow? The Vegeta.
I don't think that the Vegeta is fantastic outside of Toppo Lock.
I'm gonna say there's like key decks where it's important. Outside that, it's almost a waste, I feel like.
Because Toppo Lock is one of those weird decks that likes to advantage the battle phase, but you don't get a battle phase if your opponent attacks the unison. So having that blocker available to open up a battle phase for you is ultimately important.
Okay.
And I would say that's where Toppo Lock kind of falls short. Yeah, Jason was defending really hard, really early here. Turn 2 Bupo, turn 2 Dormant Potential. So I'm just going to do what I can. This is going to be my last attack for the turn, which I'm expecting it to put him into awakening range. And then he just takes the unison there.
Which I want to ask about, like, I know you like to wait to awaken, but with the Toppo Lock, it's kind of hard to do. An alternative to that play would be to take the life for it, and then you could have safely -3 and pop both those cards on his board before you continue your turn.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to get rid of. I couldn't really tell from the video how many markers I have on my unison. But I wasn't ready to get rid of it just yet.
Okay. Yeah, you had it at 4 before his last attack, and now it's at 3.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I was just kind of like out of it during this match, to be honest. I was intending to play a completely different deck all my cards came in after I got to the shop, so I didn't want to play the deck I was going to play. I mean, I could have, but I was in the mindset of playing a completely different deck, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but that's kind of what my strategy was for the other deck, which would have been better, but I don't know. I was just kind of in zombie mode, basically.
There's nothing worse than having, because I experienced this a few weeks ago, where you're just like, you're in the mind frame to play one particular deck, and then for some reason you can't play that deck, and you're forced to fall into one of your fallbacks. I had a weekend a few weeks ago where I had to end up playing Sen Shinron because the deck that I brought wasn't legal. And it was just the worst thing. It threw me off so hard.
I remember that.
I apologize for that.
You bastard.
Yeah, it happens. I mean,
so this play was very interesting. Now, it is cheap. Fluff's able to cheaply play in their unison, but it stops you from swinging any more battle cards. And he gets rid of your unison. Now, it does get rid of your unison as well. So I didn't know, like, did you see when that came down, Fluff? Was that kind of an issue by any chance, or?
I wasn't super worried about it. It sucked losing that, but I do have another unison at my disposal in hand, I believe.
Is that unison's +2 leader lock to yellow?
I don't think so.
Because I'm wondering if it could grab. It might not be able to grab the negatives. They may be considered shadow balls. That might be why. But I wonder if it grabbed the other Jason's Dragon Balls. But it may be tagged to like those. May be. I think those are shadow balls, and it may be tagged to Dragon Ball specifically.
I think it just says add 2 Dragon Balls from deck to hand.
Wow, I never even thought about that.
If I'll look into it and put it on the screen as we're talking about it, just for clarification.
Interesting.
I was about to say I can look it up here real quick.
But yeah, you establish our unison, so you are perfectly fine with the Toppo Lock. But now you potentially have 2 double strikers coming your way. But with 3 open energy, it's kind of safe for yellow, I feel like.
Yeah, it's place 2 Dragon Balls from deck and drop area, then shuffle your deck. But yeah, I felt incredibly safe here. I wasn't even so worried about him having that big gigantic double striker on the field. I figured I would either just go ahead and take the damage or force it out if he misplays correct. And if he misplays and doesn't swing with it first, then I would have tapped it.
Because in your Toppo Lock build, you don't play Zamasu, you play the Garlic Juniors.
I played Krillin.
Krillin, yeah, I always think Garlic because he's on the picture, but yeah, you
Yeah.
played the Krillin Moments for a Comeback.
Yeah. And I've honestly thought about going back to the Zamas in Toppo Lock because it's like the draws are really nice, but the ability to tap either a leader or a battle card
It's
also
impressive.
feels incredibly nice.
I know with the Basils, you play Giant Ball, you have the Apes, you do have a lot of ways of drawing cards if need be, and you have a lot of ways of punishing your opponent for playing battle cards, such as the Secret Rares, or even this negate right here, where now if he wants to continue swinging with cards outside of the Unison, he has to tap down stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing too that kind of messed me up a little bit is I had like 4 Overrealm cards I had to take out before this match started, and had nothing to put in its place.
And for clarification, we do, as soon as the ban list is stated, we immediately put it in effect at our shop, just so we are in the mindset and getting prepped for the actual moment it goes into effect. Now, granted, if we go into a big tournament, you bet your ass I'm playing a Fighting Its Fate.
Right. Yeah, it's. I had 2 Fighting Against Fate, 1 Secret Identity, Bardock, like Massan, and there was another Overrealm that I took out.
Out of curiosity, this deck requires a Krillin being dropped to get double strike, and with the Ruby Hands being a key factor to kind of a slight hand control. Overwhelm sounds very dangerous to do because you do lose a lot of potential threats there. Is it like you want to see it?
Well, it's all about how, because I made the deck pretty defensive and then overwhelm based. So usually I'll do the Rebians pretty early if I can get them in my hand. And then I got so many Krillins in the deck, I can just combo one, throw it in there before I can attack with the leader. So I'm not really worried about that part. I think I end up running 9 different Krillins that are 4-drop. So
I haven't seen Cocoons in a game in a while.
Yeah, that Cocoons in the game is so good.
I've been curious about it because I haven't seen people play it a whole lot recently, so I didn't know if like it just fell off the meta or if like people just forgot about it. You know,
I like it. I run 2 in the deck.
There's just matchups where it's bad, where it doesn't do enough. Either the deck goes too wide or there's too much barrier included in the deck. But in other situations, Cocoons can absolutely turn a game.
Yeah, decks I like to go tall. Cocoons is a great card to sideboard. I think I typically like to play at least one, either in the deck or in the sideboard.
that's fair.
So, Mira, great play here, by the way.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all.
So is this something...
shout outs to Jake, actually, for convincing me to do this.
Like putting Mira in the deck or playing Mira right there?
Putting Mira in the deck. I do go on ahead and minus...
I think it's 4.
Do the -4 there, yeah. To clear out the field. It gives him dual attack, and then he's double strike blocker on top of that.
It restands itself, doesn't it, at the end of the turn? Or you get one swing and then you block next.
Or no, it's +1 is an auto. When your opponent attacks, restand this card. Yeah.
That's rough. It's a lot of
So it just becomes a big 40,000. So it's a good way to clean out the game.
Yeah. And with a deck that builds markers so quickly on its unison and just keeps it, it's nice.
Toppo Lock is one of my favorites, but it's just not going to be playable with the unison aggro that's coming out next set with Cooler and Dripku. It just loses really hard to those because it doesn't have a ton of interaction with the unisons.
Which is unfortunate because, like, even the Olden Gates Flying Nimbus, unfortunately, won't be valid with that because with those are phrase. Mecha Freezes won't hit those either. So it's a very tight situation.
They're very hard counters to yellow as a color. I think maybe Forbidden Power might curb them, but generally those decks are going to be giant curveballs for yellow.
There was
moving forward.
One card that I discovered with Nick and Jake. We were talking about the Gogeta 1-drop the free counter. It says the attacking card and negate the skills. So while the Final Flash Vegeta will not hit a unison, that card will. So that card can be really good against the Cooler deck or the Gripku.
Yeah. And I just checked Forbidden Power, and it does not stop unisons.
So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Keep in mind those buttons down below and on the screen while Fluff does the outro.
Good game, Jason. I know your head wasn't totally into that one, but good game. So as always, read your cards, know your plays, let us make the mistakes so that you don't have to, and as always, Fluff out.